Marfoogle TV going live in 3, 2, 1. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. First on the docket, China is building a supercarrier to rival the U.S. If you haven't joined us before, we're going to be covering all of the current events, and especially the ones that matter. We're going to have public opinion on a lot of this. There is a lot of propaganda going around, and of course, there is a lot of really scary events with a war brewing, whether the U.S. is involved or not. Of course, this is yet another sign that China is trying to contend for number one. You've had so many of our U.S. military members come out and say, either publicly or through memos to the actual military, that they believe we will be at war with China by 2027. The latest official I heard, they said 2028. Like Mike Minahan is a great example, head of the actual cargo for pretty much the entire U.S. military. Not only that, of course, he has made some very weird decisions on top of that, like getting rid of all of the identifying numbers on all of our cargo planes. For what reason? Why do we need to hide those? Again, there's something weird going on. China is developing a new nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, which will be larger and more advanced than any vessel in its fleet, in an attempt to keep pace with the U.S. Navy. The new supercarrier would allow fighter jets to be launched from 4 parts of the flight deck, as opposed to its current ships, which can only accommodate 3. Which I actually didn't know that. I could see that you have the main, their older ones are the ramp, and then helicopters, right? And then possibly somewhere else. I'm actually surprised that they have one that can launch 4. That's insane. Or that they will have one. And of course, their newest, the one right before this, that was one of the first ones with, I believe, the sling. I don't know what they call that. Again, for you Navy guys, you're going to be like, it's called this. The catapult, that system that essentially takes the jet and allows it to take off in a much shorter space. Thus, you can actually fit a whole lot more ships in instead of, putting planes on the deck instead of having that as an open runway. The ones with the ramp, they of course help that, but those are archaic compared to today's standards. Of course, it said that would match the capability of the USS Gerald R. Ford, the largest and most advanced aircraft carrier in the U.S. Navy. Images from the Dalian shipbuilding facility in northeast China showed tracks and trenches in the snow, which appear to be related to a new catapult launch system. So this is a massive, massive ship, and there are images of this. And it's like we always see this right before all of a sudden, boom, they have like 1, 2, 3. If you did not know, China has been making military planes, jets, essentially any kind of military vehicle. They have made a lot of them underground or undercover because they know that the U.S. and other countries are watching via satellite. So it's, it was very, very crazy when we found out that they all of a sudden were the largest Navy in the world. And of course, their ships did not equal the U.S. Navy's. It's like they had 2 carriers at the time. Now I think they're going on 4 or 5. But the U.S. has 11, right? We've got them outweighed in the cool ships. But as sheer size goes, they have the largest Navy in the world. And it is by the hundreds or thousands of ships. They have smaller ships that are, of course, part of the shadow Navy. But man, it is very, very concerning to see the pace that they are making their nuclear missiles. I told you guys years ago, military families said that these guys are building like no tomorrow and that they would be the biggest Air Force as well. That hasn't been a title that they have held yet, but I believe that prediction will hold true. They, of course, like, but it's Chinese Navy or it's Chinese Air Force. Well, really, is it? Because they've essentially stolen the designs for almost all of our jets. And if people really think that they can't put stuff together like we can, Well, I think you're smoking something, because essentially the U.S. military and so many other countries have essentially sent their high-tech gear, including weapons, including aircraft parts, to China to be worked on. When they did that for the lower cost, they were also giving them the ability to build, manufacture, fix, repair these kinds of things. Now, there are rules about certain things and how they travel. It's a big boo-boo to have a U.S. part directly go to China, but it's happened. We've covered it. And that's because mistakes in, what's going on. It's just insane. So they are directly going up against the U.S. right now. And this furthered my opinion that this is something that is really going to start picking up. This might not be the only supercarrier. They have, understandably, enough of the public places where you can see this. If they're building this where a satellite can see it, I wonder what they are building where it can't. All right, we're going to talk about this and so much more. I mean, there's just tons today. We're going to be right back right after this.
Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. Before we get started, let's bring in my co-internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I am doing just fine.
All right, so let's move on. I don't think anybody is surprised that China is building more supercarriers. I do know that military family members were commenting on X today that they were surprised that they were able to match that 4-launch system. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And thank you guys for joining already. I'll be pulling up the chat here in just a bit and saying hello.
I'm sure they got the designs from America at some point. And they probably are using the electromagnetic aircraft launch system, which is that EMALS, which is the, what is that? It uses like that electromagnetic, like the trains used for propulsion. So instead of using the steam catapult that the older carriers use, that's the new technology that's on the Gerald R4. That's the one that gives them, doesn't make them the ability to have 4 locations, but they have 4 of those on Gerald R4 because it's so big. They can launch 2 to the front and 2 off the side. I wouldn't say they'd launch them simultaneously, but they'd stack them to be launched, in concession, one right after another.
Well, I thought it was interesting that you can lightly see the lettering Xinghua R Ford. It's almost like they yeah. I don't know.
It's right off the blueprints, right?
Yeah. And then painted over like Xinghua. Like, I don't know. And then they just keep saying that there's a guy that's building this ship named Gerald. That's why. That's his name tag. He just painted it really big for the helicopters to land for the testing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of aircraft carriers, we now have not just a carrier, but the entire group that goes along with it, the strike group, is now in South Korea. So the U.S. aircraft carrier...
no surprise there.
Yeah, USS Carl Vinson has now shown up in the South Korean port of Busan. obviously to show its presence to Kim after firing the recent missiles, but also after the words that have been said, as well as the raising their military nuclear readiness. And the concern that the South has had with them. I know that the South was even talking recently about their own potential desires to gain nuclear weapons if they feel like they're not going to get the protection they need against Kim. So having that carrier group there is definitely a big sign, and I'm sure it just means we're going to see Kim act up in the next few days. It's the first time it's been there since June, or an aircraft carrier has been there since June.
Well, and with South Korea, most of you have probably heard my rants about how weird it is that the South Korean president has been arrested, so I won't go fully into that. But you should know what happened there. And again, the guy got arrested after declaring a martial law. My gut says that the guy was right. He said that Chinese had infiltrated the government and that they were trying to mess with the government to impeach his party's people, right? I'm not from South Korea, so I can't tell you that that's accurate. But what I can tell you is that was right after all of the weird stuff, the separating of North Korea and South Korea. And then, of course, you've got China super tight with South Korea or North Korea and super tight with Russia right now. It feels to me like North Korea is just a kind of a landing spot for the stuff going from China to Russia. At the same time, North Koreans are now fighting with Russians, and that has been an argument in Europe right now over and over. They're saying, hey, they are getting North Koreans and putting them on the front lines. Like, we need, as NATO, to go help Ukraine. Even though Ukraine is not part of NATO, it's the huge thing, and this is why they keep pushing, like they're going to take us over next, because nobody wants to justify sending soldiers out to a non-NATO member and straight up be sacrificing their kids and children for a country that everybody agrees is super duper uber corrupt. So I'm very, very confused what the hell is going on with the South Korean president, but I'm not surprised. I've been telling you guys for 2 years, South Korea and North Korea are going to be something that pops off. I think it's going to be the trigger that pulls the bigger weapon. Bow. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And when that happened, that further just reiterated it in my heart. Like something was going to go down. And then Tammy Lee, I found Waldo again. What's going on? Kanito Warrior, nice to see you. J Pass, nice to see you as well. Tyges and Z, hey, Randy man, just some guy. Hey, what is happening? Let's see here. B the Goldfish. Nice to see you. Smart Dust, Kent Kearney, and see here. Thank you, and thank you. All right. Thank you guys for all coming tonight. I am a bit under the weather, but we'll push right on through. All right, and then British peace troops in Ukraine attacked by a Russian army would respond under, quote, defensive rules. Dex, this sounds a whole lot like, I don't know, British troops in Ukraine, and they'll only attack if they get attacked. Sounds like British troops are going to be fighting in Ukraine.
Exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what this means. This is how you basically set up peacekeepers to be military support for Ukraine. They don't have it. They don't have any more soldiers left in the country at this point. It seems like the numbers are just dwindling there. So they've got to put people in at some point, whether it's France, UK, or other countries. It's not going to be America anytime soon. And the big talk right now is, well, let's get peacekeepers. And we know what that means. That's just code for let's use a different name to run military in there. And then all we have to do is have an event go off, whether it be created or whether it be real. And now we're in a full-fledged scale European war beyond just Ukraine.
Yeah. So, I mean, is this not going along the path? I mean, and I don't have a crystal ball, but I have a solid gut, and I followed this stuff. And I guess if you say you know everything, then people absolutely say, "Oh, then you can't say you know everything." But you don't. But if you do follow this, and most of all of you, I think you agree, a lot of you agree with this, if you follow this every day for years and years and years, and you know the mainstream media's tricks, you can spot a psyop from a million miles away when every last media is doing the same message, then you start looking at the back page and seeing what is not being shared. And every single time, it's the stuff that you can't talk about, which is the most important. And this is just, they slow roll it. They've done this 1,000 times. With CV, with everything, they slow roll it. They say, oh, just a little bit, and they just give you a little inch by inch, and somehow that gets humans to just accept it. They talk about it, then they talk about it, then they talk about it, and then it happens, and they're like, oh, it happened. I don't get that. Why don't people every single time they hear something like this go, no, but they don't. This is going to be a world war, whether, we want it to be or not. They want money. They want minerals. They want to restructure power around the world. They want their shadowy figures to be happy so they can, appease their rulers. The people that are not on the Forbes list, that are richer than the richest. Way above Elon, I guarantee it. And before we move on, make sure to go check out Jase Medical. Again, if you haven't checked them out, this is a very easy service. You can do it right now from the comfort of your couch. You can, again, do a quick telehealth appointment with your phone, tablet, or computer, and you'll talk to a board-certified doctor, and you can get all of the most commonly prescribed antibiotics. When all this craziness is going on, I would highly recommend it, especially if we lose power or some sort of emergency happens. I see a fantastic Freddy type event happening that pulls us into this war. I am sure that NATO and all of that's going to go off. And of course, the US is pulling out of that. But even if not, if they get in a huge war, China's involved, and China is now making 93% of our antibiotics. If you don't have them on hand, then it might not be hard right now. You go to the ER or you go to urgent care and you get them to prescribe it. But when there is no urgent care, there's no ER, and there's no pharmacies, then you're going to be screwed. And I guarantee you those pharmacies are going to be the first things that are absolutely run down. You'll see a truck run through every single side of the wall in almost every pharmacy across the country if we lose our grid. So highly recommend getting this. It is something that could end up saving your life. You get something bacterial. It's not a fun thing. It is something we kind of take for granted. Marfooglenews.com/Jase, and make sure to use the code MARF. You're going to end up saving not only money, but you're also going to be helping independent media at the same time as preparing yourself. That kit, you can also add on things like albuterol and other things like, of course, fluconazole and all sorts of other things. So make sure to go check out the list of add-ons, and then also check out Jase Daily, where you can actually order a 12-month extended supply of your prescription. All right, let's get back into the news. We've got Pentagon to send an added 3,000 troops to the U.S.-Mexico border. Sorry, guys. Dex, why don't you go ahead and tell?
Yeah, so this is on top of the already staggering number. Now, I'll remind you, they had suggested at one point that they were probably going to reach somewhere around 10,000 troops. So maybe this is our next tranche of getting the troop counts up. I don't know why we need 10,000, but that would be the number they had reported a few weeks ago. I think we talked about it here. When they were talking about what the true number is going to be. But now they're saying that they've readied another 3,000. They're sending them down. I even saw someone in chat said that they heard that maybe some tanks were heading that way. I don't know. I haven't confirmed that. But what is said here is that, Hegseth announced that another round of active duty troops are heading there. Despite the encounters being the lowest in recent years, which obviously everybody is not running to the border, they're sort of running away from it right now. An additional 3,000 troops will aid in the immigration officials. Now, I honestly believe this is less about people coming across and more about the cartels and what's coming across, or what they're trying to get across, because that's a money train for them. And that will, that's something they'll fight for. And I think we're going to end up seeing that escalation in the coming, weeks possibly, if not even days. But I think probably in the next couple of weeks or next month, we're going to start to see escalations down there as that gravy train, so to speak, dries up for the cartels. And if it does significantly, then I got to believe they're willing to go toe to toe, or at least take things to the next level to try to get their goods across the border.
Now, somebody asked, where are they sending troops? Obviously to the Mexico border, another 3,000 troops, and we're building an Iron Dome system that he signed the executive order. We're trying, all this talk about acquiring Greenland and acquiring and even absorbing Canada. Check this picture out. What if in the future it's less about one world, but three main leaders? So you've got the U.S. that runs Greenland, Canada, the U.S., and even Mexico, because now they've taken out the cartels, they've knocked out the corporate structure, and now it's all big one continent. China has this huge half chunk of over here, and then Russia has all of this. Wouldn't that be a trip? I mean, that's kind of looking like how they want it to be, right? And why would China work so closely with Russia? I mean, you think that they both want kind of world domination, but I don't think that's actually the truth. I think that they want what their country wants, right? And China, Xi, is very much somebody who goes with the heavenly mandate. The heavenly mandate says that China should be number one in the world, not number two, not number three, but number one. And that's religious to them. I mean, heck, in their country, if they have too many natural disasters, that looks bad on Xi. In their heavenly mandate, that is essentially, Xi is not doing a good job if they have all of these natural disasters. So it's crazy to see where this is like lining up. Everybody's trying to take their neighbors. And to me, it says that there is something that all of these countries, and this is hard to believe, people can't wrap their head around that the entire world is able to hold a secret and it's not able to leak. But I don't think people realize how well these governments can keep a secret. I mean, it's been, since the 60s, JFK stuff still hasn't come out. How in some heck didn't, some of that not come out? MLK, all of these things. When they do these, crazy ops and things, they stay dark. If they had a piece of information, they have the ability to track it down worldwide, even through social medias especially. Even if somebody shared a viral video, say like a couple years ago when that soldier went on live, had 250,000 people watching supposedly, and said that in 2030 or 2030 something that, this asteroid's going to hit the moon, it's going to knock the moon off kilter, and it's going to possibly destroy the planet, that the military and the governments of the world are worried about this, right? They're worried about this. That sounds crazy. But yet YouTube went down globally for the first time ever, and everyone was like, how does that even happen? All of the servers, everything? And they said, oh, it was just like a glitch or something. But yet then that video was not there, according to the people that saw it. And then all these channels did videos on it. Drama Alert even did a video on it, that this supposed video existed, right? So even if there is a message out there, they can grab it right back. And that's my theory. By the way, they say, nothing's coming. But now U.S. and China now have planetary defense systems. Very well could be set up for a hoax that's coming in the future. The big asteroid that we all unite under. Or it's the big asteroid that they're going to unite under, Greenland, and survive. But who knows? Dex, go ahead.
So of the 3,000 that are headed to the border, 2,400 are coming from a Stryker brigade team. So that's where people are getting the vehicles. So the Strykers are heading down, 2,400 of them. They claim 2,400 soldiers. They don't say how much equipment, but I promise you they're taking equipment down there with you. Their Strykers aren't running down there without Strykers. The other 500 soldiers are coming from the Combat Aviation Brigade out of Fort Stewart, Georgia. And the Combat Aviation Brigade, think of like Boeing Apache helicopters, attack reconnaissance helicopters. Think about the UH-60 Blackhawks, the medium lifts and and Chinooks and medevac capabilities. That's what that group would be doing.
And just to give you kind of the numbers breakdown, the latest surge of members, so 3,000 going down, will join more than 9,200. So right then, that puts it at about, 12,200. And then you've got another 4,000. That's 16,400. And then you've got another 5,000. You've got over 21,000 soldiers on our southern border. That's pretty crazy. And it's a U.S. deployment. Not to mention, since the executive orders are signed and they've declared the cartels a terror organization, they can also take a Predator drone, and as long as they, chit-chat with the Madam President down there, they could attack down there. What makes me wonder, and I hope everybody's watching this very closely, and I hope some of you that are literally watching these kind of things daily, make sure, is there going to be little fine print put in there that say if TDA gang is in Colorado that they can hit it with a Predator drone? I mean, this is something that our community has said absolutely not for years and years and years. And now it's sort of possible under these new kind of guidelines. So hopefully that does not happen. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Kathy, nice to see you, Paina. Let's see here. Dylan says, why all of the troops down there? Well, obviously now they can brag the lowest ever number of people coming across. What about the huge deployment? Deportation. There was so many millions of people that came in just 4 years. I really wonder about the thousands and thousands and that huge number of Chinese foreign nationals that came across, and specifically came across not in the normal fashions, but went through the Darien Gap and went all the way through Mexico to get in. These are all military-aged men, Chinese men, that did that. And then people forget, this isn't too long ago, and I know most of you all know this, but all of that farmland that was bought right next to our bases. I mean, these things are too big to ignore. Something is right under our noses. And I think that your gut is probably right when you think something bigger is on the horizon. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. I have talked to so many people in the last month and a half that say, oh, everything is good. Everything is going to be perfect. I don't think, no matter who is put in president, that it was going to be perfect. Thank you, and thank you. Caged Crow says, I'll put this out. Quebec Hydro is going to respond. Be prepared. Be prepared, ones. They put power to the Northeast. Beware, tariffs, wars are going to get real. Okay, so Quebec Hydro up in Canada, as far as these tariffs, this is a big deal to a lot of people. We just covered this in the last show that Warren Buffett said that essentially these tariffs are an act of war to some degree. Many people believe that he is right, and by the comments you see by some of these countries, it really seems like we're stepping on toes. Canada, though, at the same time, you've got Canada talking like, well, yeah, that is a serious talk. And yeah, the president is serious about, the 51st state of Canada. There's actually a movement in Canada for them to join the U.S. Don't ask me. Go look it up for yourself. I was actually surprised to see how many there are. And then Netanyahu thanks Trump for weapon support to finish the job against Iran access. Dex, do you want to talk about that?
Certainly. Sounds like more proof now. And I think we just also heard today that Rubio cleared up another handful of billions for their support for military assistance. But yes, so 4 billion in military assistance going to Israel, but freeing up these weapons. But I think the main thing is the fact that Netanyahu not only is thanking us, which, you know, it's nice to see someone say thank you when you give them money as opposed to give me more like others, but the key part here is finish the job. So that just tells me that this is sort of green lighting, or basically wait for this money to start flowing and wait for the weapons and the resupply of, you know, things that they need for, you know, their Iron Domes, for their stealth aircraft that they fly, that they used last time to take out certain places in Iran. They just want to restock up on all of that munition. And I think that basically we're about to see Israel take out Iran, or at least take out their nuclear facilities. And that we know Iran, as we reported last week, is on high alert. They're expecting it. And I think this is sort of the down payment, or the paycheck, or the blank check, so to speak, that says, go right ahead. You know, you can use what you've got in your arsenal now, because the rest of it's going to get replenished in the coming, you know, days, weeks, months.
I just want to point out, his comment says, just saw on X that a flag of U.S. and Canada together, right? Yeah, well, this is what the president actually posted on, I believe, January 6th or January 7th or something. Maybe it was the day after the anniversary. Oh, Canada. I mean, that's a continental power, right? I mean, like, and they're not saying Mexico right now, but then he made the Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America, and now he's working with the Mexican president. You know, if they work closely enough, the whole continent would be under a one power. And that same power is saying, we're going to build forces, we're going to have everybody, if they want to do any kind of manufacturing, they come here, work within our walls, and we're going to build an Iron Dome to defend it. It seems like we're pulling away from everybody, and if they want some of the America, you know, magic, they have to come here to get it. I think everybody is separating. Something big is coming, and that the world is about to fall apart. And some see it, and maybe this is their strategy to try to, you know, push that off. But you can't collapse a system. Our entire system is based on the petrodollar. They say the petrol is supposedly going to be gone in a certain amount of years. So how do you do that? In our lifetimes, we're all going to see this, or most of us will. How do you do that without collapsing the old system? And if you collapse the old system, you have chaos. You have a true world chaos event, just as bad or worse than CV was. CV was the governments of the world shutting us down. This would be the currency collapsing. It would be horrendous for everyone across the world. Dex, go ahead.
I mean, could you imagine what those developers like Trump and all the people like him that like to develop, you know, lavish, big, beautiful properties, they're just probably salivating over the idea of Mexico becoming America, because of all that beachfront property that's probably undeveloped or can be redeveloped and turned into just massive, massive projects, just like they looked at the strip over there near Israel, which is only, 25 miles, but Mexico's got a lot of mileage.
Yeah, think about that. The New Florida. Oh my gosh, would they name it New Florida? And what do you think they would? What would the new name for Tijuana be? Tijuana, Florida. Do you want a Florida? And then the county next to it would be no. Anyway, okay. But as far as with Iran and Israel, don't forget about that. It's crazy because the certain stories float to the top that people talk about. Obviously, there's a really good chunk that will always be. This will be first thing on their mind. whether they're supporters of Israel or supporters of Iran. But a war with, Israel and Iran, if Israel is talking more and more about striking their nuclear sites, do you think that Iran is going to just wait until they attack them? Or do you think that they're going to pull a True Promise 3 before that? And is that the goal? Is Israel trying to get them to do their True Promise 3 so then they can start a war or wipe them out, take out the nuclear sites? I don't know. Or are they actually going to surprise attack them, take out their nuclear sites, and then you have Iran, which just recently signed these ironclad treaties with all of these other countries. Will you see Russian troops joining Iranians charging into Israel? Or vice versa? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Let's see here. And then let's go to the Japanese destroyer passes through the Taiwan Strait for the second time. So all of our allies, especially the Trilateral Alliance, which also includes, you've got Japan. Japan is now doing one of their destroyer pass-throughs. It seems like over the last year, this has happened a lot. Dex, with this Japanese ship, obviously they do the same thing almost every time. They say this is a Freedom and Navigation Act thing. We're doing everything above the board as far as the world is concerned. As far as China is concerned, how does this look?
Well, it's just the second time this particular vessel has passed through those straits. I think that they are not trying to provoke, but at least trying to stand up to China's aggression, and this is specifically Japan's position, as it relates to the islands that are just north of Taiwan that are contested. When you look at the island, the big island of Japan, you don't pay, most people don't pay much attention, but there's a whole lot of tiny little islands that stretch all the way down, almost to the tip of Taiwan. And as you get further south in there, those islands are hotly contested between Japan and China. And so, they have recently teamed up with the Philippines. They've signed agreements with the Philippines for support and for sharing of information and intelligence, as well as sharing ports so that they can have a better defensive stance against the aggression of China. So having them start to sail through the Taiwan Strait is yet another opportunity for them to show their strength, or at least their willingness to not be scared of China right now, because they're trying to protect and defend the claims that they have on the islands there.
Well, and really think about how big of a deal this is. They still have their original name, Japanese Self-Defense Force. After World War II, they went all out into their military is only going to be, if they are attacked, then they will attack back. All of these events, like the South Korean president getting pulled out, you know why that matters? It reminds me a whole lot when the former President Shinzo Abe, the main, one of the party leaders, he was saying, hey, we need to be an offensive military. It just didn't get the support in Japan. Shinzo Abe, the president, said, we need to be an offensive force. We need to stop this whole, we'll only attack people if they attack us. We need to go out and protect everything, and we need to maybe possibly attack before we get attacked. We need to be on the offensive and strike first. When he got taken out by a homemade shotty at that speech, within weeks, and we said this the day that it happened, that it was weird because he was just pushing these things, he was doing all of these events, hit that party, and that whatever that was getting put in to pass or vote on skyrocketed, and they essentially changed their constitution to then be an offensive force. Japan's self-defense force is far away from Japan, swinging through the Taiwan Strait. What does that tell you? Not to mention, Japan has gotten closer and closer and closer to the U.S., and I don't think it's a coincidence that Japan is also, their culture is actually changing. The Japanese people do not like it. We have Japanese in our family. In fact, my daughter is half, or actually quarter, technically. But as far as in Japan, they have had a lot of cultural traditions that they really didn't want to mess with. When you go to Japan, like a lot of things you pay for in cash. They did paper and pencil kind of thing. A lot of the stuff that goes back to, some of the corruption that was going on there. They still had fax machines, and they still did this, and they would still have to write you a physical receipt and all of these things. They didn't have social security numbers. They didn't have a lot of the stuff. And now they're getting morphed into basically, it's almost like a clone. They're trying to bring all of that in. And of course, the people that have been kind of in the shadows, kind of, helping run their stuff, they're not happy about that either. So, it's like you see all of these countries. Japan is definitely, it's almost like we're all an extension, that they're all working together. They are, but they're also working together in how they're moving towards these common goals. They're moving the agendas, the ID agendas, having these real IDs and these systems that are going to be global. They're not, this isn't just a country by country thing. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. If you are Japanese, what do you think about how they are now pushing the boundaries? They're leaving their shores, and they're essentially doing these risky moves right alongside with the U.S. and Germany and all of these other countries that are seemingly doing the same kind of things. It's almost like they're all paired up on one side or the other, getting ready for a world war. That's just what it seems like to me. All right, and then North Korea's Kim Yo-jong says U.S. Trump's administration is stepping up provocation. Do you guys not think it's freaking weird that it's again the sister? I'm telling you guys, North Korea is a puppet nation. I don't even think Kim Jong-un is alive anymore. You see these random pictures with the daughter, which I almost think that those leaked. And I almost think that they used AI and maybe they were trying to get pictures of him and his sister, and then the AI like screwed up. And because it got leaked out to the press, they couldn't say they were fake. So they said, oh yeah, it's him walking with his daughter in front of a nuke. Has anybody thought about those pictures they posted with the daughter? Him giving a tour to his daughter of the freaking nukes? Something about that doesn't make sense. Now, remember, this is before a lot of the public had access to all this stuff, but I guarantee you the governments did. They had the access to make these super accurate, AI pictures without sixth fingers and all of that. I'm starting to wonder, now this is the first day I've ever thought of this, about the daughter and Kim Jo-young. What if those were leaked photos over they released a couple over a week or whatever, but it was in the same period, and then we haven't seen anything? What if those were AI photos to give proof of life of Kim Jong-un, but they accidentally, the AI made Kim Yo-jong a little girl. So they mysteriously just introduced an 11-year-old daughter. Mind you, the sister herself was just a random introduction. The sister could be a CIA agent that they just put in there. Because if you actually look, there's no history before she got introduced. And the excuse they tell you is that essentially they're so secretive and it's very black market stuff. I'm like, what? Everything I learned about North Korea, all the documentaries, all the books I read when I was younger about North Korea, the women are not respected in that field. They basically had to change their God view of Kim Jong-un and include his sister as a god for this to be accepted there. That's a tough sell for the people that have spent their whole life saying that women are, less than, right? I'm not saying I think that. That's what those people thought. So I think this is so weird. We're seeing, and we just talked about this last week, Dex. He found his sister on the black market, J-Pass says. Isn't it weird? I think it is so freaking weird. Dex.
Yeah, it's strange that it's a sister. Look, it's going to continue to escalate. The fact that we got the carrier there, we expect, it's going to be words, but I promise you're going to see some more launches in the coming days. The question is, does it get beyond the standard chest beating of North Korea, and the fireworking of their rockets, to something more significant?
Well, I think it's super, super weird. I will pull up a picture of this. Hold on, let me pull up a picture of this. The pictures of the daughter, right? I just want to show you, because once you see it, you go, what the hell? And the media all had the same message about it, that this was totally normal. Like, oh, he all of a sudden has an 11-year-old daughter, and the pictures show him walking along like she's a ruler, or like she's being trained to rule. But that would also make sense if they were trying to have Kim Yo-jong take the spot of the trash talker and somebody who is, going to be the leader. Let me see if there's. Oh, I wasn't on DuckDuckGo. Dang it. Kim Jong-un. Screw that. Let's go to DuckDuck. Okay, so let's see. Okay, Kim Jong-un and daughter. Look at this. And it even looks like Kim Yo-jong, which that's a whole other story. Okay? I might actually dig through all of these and see, it's a verified pic. Who is verifying this? All of these pictures have to come through KCNA. They all come through KCNA, and KCNA is cuckoo as Cocoa Puffs, okay? So who's verifying this stuff? And is anybody counting fingers? Because maybe there is a sixth finger or so. I don't know. I never thought of it until today, and I'm not I'm not saying it's true, but it is to me. There was there was pictures. This is so tacky and corny. And then, what is this guy doing? Oh, you guys walk so good. Oh, you walk so good now. Oh, look at leather jacket, nice leather jacket. Oh, nice. Is that Levi? Oh, you're like secret agent, like James. Bah. I don't know. Why is he clapping? Why is he clapping? I'm just saying. And let's see. One more. I got to show you the nuke one. Yeah, just something about this does not sit right. And remember, they've got these. Oh yeah, let's just give her a tour. And there's different styles. You know how AI can do this? It can make it look older or newer. So you're saying they have all high, perfectly good Canon DSLRs, but this photo, what is this? This looks like it's from a different time era. Once again, I'm like, and then what is this? He's just taking a casual stroll with his daughter in front of a nuke? What are you doing? Take her to a ball game. Come on. Have her hang out with Dennis Rodman. Come on, he's fun and colorful. A nuke isn't fun. Just saying. Before we move on, make sure to go check out My Medic if you haven't already. Again, this is actually one of the newest affiliates, and this is something I truly believe in. Everybody should have food, water, and medicine as their firsts. But if you don't have a first aid kit, the My Medic system, these are the highest quality medic systems out there. In fact, these are what the pros use. The MyFax, these are everything built in one. They have a mole system that you can put on your on any bag with the mole system as far as weaving it in and out and putting it on the outside. They have everything in there. Make sure to go check out the website. You can see everything in it. Again, a lot of people end up going for these cheapo Chinese-made things. That's not this. Again, it also comes actually with a training and all sorts of other stuff. But I would go look at the other sides. Somebody, again, just said that they got the Recon. And, man, there's all sorts of awesome sizes. But, man, I'm telling you, that small one packs in all sorts of stuff that you would not normally find in, say, a first aid kit that you're going to get, those little boxes that you get from Rite Aid or somewhere like that, or Home Depot or Lowe's. This has got really, really stuff that you would never think to have on you. I mean, tourniquets and ports and protectors if you're going to do CPR on somebody. These are things you don't think to have. And, of course, things like this pop up. So make sure to go check it out, marfooglenews.com/medic. Keep it in your car. Keep it in your house. Get one for your kid. If you have a grown daughter or son that you want them to have this kind of thing. We all want to make sure that our kids are safe. But, yeah, everything you can think of is most likely in here. And, again, if it's not, it's probably in the next size up. So go check it out, marfooglenews.com/medic. And, again, go check for availability. Just all sorts of everything you can think of, it is in here. This actually minimizes it because some of these bags could have 4 or 5, 10 smaller items in it that are all extremely useful first aid tools. Go check it out, marfooglenews.com/medic, MEDIC, and make sure to use the code MARF. It helps us. We're on our own here. So thank you guys. We appreciate it. And then NATO coming to Dayton. 5 things to know. So we just talked about this on TV, but again, or on news. And we're going to go over this because it is very creepy. I saw some comments that were very, very interesting earlier in the show about this Ohio thing. Dex, go ahead.
Hey, just going back on that comment about Quebec and being prepared if they cut power to the northeastern U.S. Over tariffs. I was just doing some research to follow up. And by the way, we talked about the tariffs over on news, guys. So if you want to share that one out as well, another good topic. But those are going into place tomorrow. But the amount of electricity we import from Canada was only about $3 billion in 2023. It's right around 1% of the overall production amount or consumption amount that we use in America. And we only do that because of the fact that the states up there are trying to meet their green initiatives, if you know what I mean. So they offset that by buying that. So I guess if they do cut it off, it's not really the end of the world for us, unfortunately, for Canada. Even though it does sound good, it does sound strong to say, hey, we could cut that off. I don't know that would actually make much of a dent in the tariff wars, but these are the types of topics that are coming up from these tariffs that are going in. Like who's going to do what to who, and what's going to be the retaliation, if any.
Well, and you never know. Some of the things that are publicly listed, sometimes they don't want to list that we're so dependent on them, so they, carefully word things. But as far as other things that they could do, I know there's a lot of other people. There's small business owners over there that have most of their customers in the U.S. I know there's a lot of influencers, and I believe they are affected. Any product that is sold from a business in Canada to the U.S. gets that tariff. I mean, that is correct, right, Dex? Any product that you get from a Canadian business, that is going to have that tariff.
Well, it will now. It hasn't in the past.
Yeah,
but the other way around, everybody in America that sells to Canada gets tariffed. It's been that way. So that's the problem, is that they tax our stuff going in, but we don't tax their stuff coming to us.
Which is so stupid.
Yeah, and he's basically saying, I'm going to do this for any country. We're going to make it equal. If you're going to tax us, we're going to tax you. And in hopes that everybody just reduces their tariffs. or at least makes it even with one another. But unfortunately, Canada is not really has a large enough economy, to compete with America. So I understand why it's not equal, but at the same time, it not being equal is we're basically funding everything.
Yeah, and with the tariff, the media forgets to mention that when they say, "Oh, they're putting a 25% tariff on Canada," they're forgetting to mention that these countries are putting tariffs on us. And it's like, what was the original reason why they put the tariff on us? That's what I don't get. I mean, especially a lot of the stuff that is in some of the other countries that are big manufacturers, the Asian manufacturing companies or countries, why are there these big tariffs for us to ship out? I don't understand that. Is it because they're rich, they can pay? I don't know why Asians sound like Cartman, but you guys get my drift. My drift by Benko. You get it. And then Dr. Linguisha Durden Jackson, the whole feed the good wolf or the bad wolf thing is a fallacy when it comes to knowledge. All that matters, is it true? If so, it's good. If it doesn't matter, how it makes you feel. Only is it true? When I'm doing the show, I think that is too deep for me to understand right now. But I do get you. Feed the good wolf or the bad wolf. See, if I looked from outside and if I was watching the show, I'd be like, oh, I get it. But as far as I think, the two sides, right? Well, right now, I'm very skeptical of both sides because I really do want to say this. All of these drastic changes are happening because I believe that many of us in this community were right. That not only something big was about to happen, that something so massive is being planned that now it's not about stopping it, it's about minimizing it. This war is coming. All of the people over the years, it's all going to be a nothing burger. It's not going to be a nothing burger. Preppers are going to be the ones that everybody is going to be banging down their doors because guess what? We're in a fragile society. And as human beings, we are just so egotistical. We think that everything will be fine, that we're just so smart. But, I mean, I have talked to so many people in this community that have had so many experiences. I mean, you look at Hurricane Katrina, you look at anything regarding FEMA, they do not have the smarts, the talent, the plans to actually deal with problems to where we're doing it, up to par. North Carolina, Hawaii, any of these scenarios were just horrendously handled. And, people think that, until we die, there's just going to be really big disasters, but it will be regional. Those regional disasters will keep happening for sure. They happen, and they'll probably happen to you at some point in your life. A big fire, big earthquake, big something like that. That's why people prep in the back, because even if you prep for the biggest thing, then the smaller thing happens, you're also going to be way better off than everybody else. But the world has not separated, done treaties, split down the middle, created new financial systems, created ways for us to collapse, divided every single country down the middle. I always thought it was just the U.S. that was so like Democrats and Republicans. But look at South Korea. The other side's trying to impeach us. France, people are out in the streets. Farmers are dumping hay and turds into McDonald's. People are protesting in Germany. People are protesting in South Korea. People are protesting in China, for God's sake. Every country has these huge, massive protests, and especially since CV. CV, one thing that we did learn is, all these countries are working together. They did. And they did through just a few agencies. And then you look at those few agencies that were running the planet, and they're owned, operated on the board of of like the third country. U.S., China, who's that third one? BlackRock. They have as much money as all of the other countries combined. Go look that up. It is a scary fact. The same company that you probably see on the little retirement thing or your IRA or your investment portfolio, that company has more money than Japan, all of the European nations, Russia, all of them, Australia, all of those combined. And you think that they're not swaying the world as much as the U.S. is, as much as China is? And even better, those places are governments that have some sort of system set up. BlackRock has a corporate boardroom where it is all hidden and behind closed doors. So if they make a decision, it just goes in between them, and there is no record of it. So therefore, you've got them, and they go, hey, how about we pay $70 million to this politician and that and that and that? How about we pay off 400 politicians and we shift the world to make us more money? Did you know they were in not only investing in Ukraine, but in all sorts of other places? Did you not know that they owned all three companies or a part ownership of all of the companies that served us up from 2020 and on? The people that benefited from this all lead up to almost just a couple companies. Not countries, companies. Most everybody knows this, but maybe there's a couple people that are just opening their eyes. I don't know. By the way, Cage Crow says he speaks French. Let's hear one more moment to Northeast where I seldom happens. We might see it because Quebec is feeling treated. Ned, I speak French. Do I see what's going on? I was trying to put that together, and I'm so sorry, Cage Crow. I know when it's not your first language, it's a lot harder to communicate in it. But it sounds like you see what's going on. Like something's going on. And then the border of Ukraine, what we knew, drawn by Khrushchev. That was yesterday. Stephen Mans today says a country puts a tariff on goose, usually in a particular area, to spur the purchase by its citizens to buy homegrown. Yeah, no, I get you. I see what you mean. Stephen, man, by the way, you didn't have to go to work tonight? I'm surprised it's 9:30. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for sticking around. And then Tuck Pup, thank you. Suitcase, thank you. Let's see here. Rochelle Cooley, thank you. Searcher 07, thank you. And again, to our final. So we talked about this over on Marfoogle News. So go watch the video on that. But NATO is doing this village. So as all of this is happening, you've got NATO VIPs, NATO members, NATO generals, and all of their families going to this place to decide things. As Dex said over on the Marfoogle News video that we just did, in a previous event just like this, they actually helped end another war back in the past. So are we going to see that, or are we going to see a Fantastic Freddy in Ohio on United States ground where all of a sudden not only does the U.S. get pulled in, but NATO loses important parts, and then they have an excuse to go, hey, we got to go to war. We cannot put up with this. We cannot let something like this stand. When you have that many important people going in a downtown area of any city, you should be on your P's and Q's, and you should have your head on a swivel, because this is NATO closing off a giant chunk of Dayton in the downtown area, barbed wire and all, shutting down businesses, essentially buying out the businesses for the days involved, and having some of the most important people in this war right there. So pay attention. And Ohio, as much as I love it, we're not in the news that much, right? So yeah, it's a big security concern. I hope that nothing bad happens, but I will say this: they could end up also making a decision. It could be where they say, "Oh, well, we figured out peace deals or whatever." I don't know. Dex, with this NATO village, we covered it since inception, since their first announcement. Since then, people have essentially said they don't trust it. They don't trust what's going on here. Even though they've been doing it for 30 years, they still don't trust it. With what's going on right now, and with how much chatter and without how much rumor of corruption that's going on with NATO, and how U.S. is pulling out, but yet we're hosting it here. Like, what the heck? And we're not pulling out, but we're pulling back. What the hell?
Well, yeah, they haven't done it for 30 years. It was 30 years ago that
they did it.
They had a meeting in Dayton, and that happens to be the meeting when they ended the Bosnian War in 1995, and that's where they had the Dayton meeting agreements, or the Dayton, what they call it, the Dayton Accords, or something like peace accords. So this is the anniversary of that, so they thought it was symbolic to come back to Dayton to have their annual meeting. But yeah, it's like a mess to think that we're going to have this happening right now in Dayton, with all of the consternation between the U.S. and NATO members. I mean, on one hand, it may be good because they'll be here, and maybe there can be some discussions between leadership and America. But I don't know that America really wants to go much further down a path right now. And I'm speaking of like our administration, of funding everything they've been doing. It just seems like it's been a nightmare here lately. But and I even think a lot of American sentiment has fallen that way. A lot of the polls have shown people are. So
Dex,
it'll
you got cut off at the very end there. Just want to make sure that people don't miss what you said.
Yeah, but a lot of people, even the polls are showing that a lot of people aren't really in support of NATO, or in support of continuing, wars in Europe and things like that. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But, the big concern is, are they going to have any, of the type of actions they saw in Montreal with all the protesting and rioting and looting? Not really, but just destruction of buildings, which is, kind of a pain in the butt. So I guess they're taking it to that next step and cordoning off an area, and kind of like they did during the Olympics. They always have an Olympic village where everything's cordoned off. I think they're going to create a NATO village, as they're calling it, which just sounds creepy, especially to me. I mean, I'm thinking that's here in America for a time period. That's kind of crazy. Hey, Adam, one other quick thing. Sorry. Wages just told me that he wanted everybody to know that his mom thanks everyone for the prayers. She's still sore. And her car's totaled, but no broken bones, and she has whiplash, but she wanted to thank everyone in the Fugel fam for the prayer.
And I want to point out, I told you that your comments on Wages' channel, that Mom would read that, and I guarantee you Wages showed those comments to her. So, and that helps a lot. If you've ever been in a car accident or a serious thing like that, you might not realize how much positive, just people caring about you, people saying hello, people sending out a prayer to you. That one prayer out of 10 that they read might just hit the nail on the head and might just make their day. So again, very nice to you guys. Wages, you can call me after the show, by the way. I texted you back earlier. I hope everything is okay with all of you. And again, you can actually find Wages' channel over on marfooglenews.com/friends. And you, of course, have the whole list, including Wages. Bobby Sue, thank you so much. Of course, Wages World, thank you so much. Ilea, if you're still here, thank you so much. And then Rip Curl, I don't know if I saw you tonight, but man, you've been making so many shows. I so much appreciate you. And then Trinity, Red or Blue Pill, so many great channels over there. You also have Friends of Marf Creators. I know that Jacob's been, he said it's obvious what's going on with the problems with the tube. So go over and subscribe. Make sure to say hello to all of our friends down there, including Jacob Israel. All right, and then let's see. And and then Cage Crow, man. Next time, I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can write in French, But I mean, we all have cell phones and translation capabilities. You almost may want to figure out if you can write in French, because I think we could easily translate, or somebody in the audience would easily be able to copy paste it and then translate it. It says, I know I keep repeating because I don't want Pillion to freeze. Quebec has to 3 in a big way. There's just a little couple things getting lost in there.
He doesn't want people to freeze to death because the winter storm is coming, and if Quebec turns off power over this, but yeah, I get it. I don't know how much it's concerned, but we'll see. I mean, yeah, if they actually do it. But look, there's a lot of power that goes back and forth between the U.S. between the Quebec power and the inter-Atlantic, whatever the big one is that's on the East Coast, that interconnect. They both transfer power back and forth, electricity back and forth on the grids.
Ryan Alter, I don't know if Bobby Sue is here. I was just saying, making sure to shout her out. Darth V, by the way, your comment a couple minutes ago, as messed up as that is, and by the way, it's some would say it's almost untasteful, right? Says that prostitutes and certain white stuff will now be coming to Ohio. There were studies that were done when these big politician things come in. I don't know about NATO, but that does happen. When San Francisco had that big gathering of all the world leaders, all of a sudden there was a surge and all of that kind of stuff. So what he's saying is actually true, in my opinion. Dex, go ahead.
And Cage Crow's latest comment just says, "Okay, I can speak French too, LOL." In French, so.
That's awesome. Je peux.
Okay, je peux parler en français ou LOL.
That's awesome. And then James McGowan, thank you for being here. Rick Johnson, and so many more that made it tonight. And then a couple people to recognize here. Jared West has been a member for 11 months. Says, I love all of you guys. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you, Jared. And thank you for, again, 11 months. Thank you, guys. Trusted Source has been a member for 20 months. Don't forget to hit the like button. It helps the channel. It really does now. They changed it. Like, it really, really does. Thank you, guys. Thank you for hitting that. Inquiring Minds, Stephen McMahon, Tree Hookers, Wally Tukdika. I can never say your name right. I know it's just Tuck Pup. Justin, Rochelle Cooler, Searcher, Melush Schaefer. Thank you. I don't know. I'm saying everything with a French accent now. Thank you. Love you guys. And if you want to join us over at Jams, make sure to do so. Again, thank you. Have a great night. Make sure to join us for tomorrow's show. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. It is now time for the outro. It's not an outro. It's not a shoutro. It is an... Wait. It's not an outro. It's not a shout... Wait. Dang it. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. Everybody in the looking up, but they get 'em